history's most fearsome names. Two giants, two conquerors, two legends. But one question has echoed through the centuries. Which one was truly greater, Genghis Khan or Timur? And if these two warlords ever stood face to face, who would win? One of them was the genius commander who conquered half the known world on horseback. The other rebuilt an empire from ruins and challenged death itself on every battlefield. But this comparison is far from simple, because behind both names lie shocking truths, hidden historical facts, and fierce debates that even historians cannot agree on. Some say, no one in history could stand against Genghis Khan. Others argue, if Timur and Genghis Khan had lived in the same era, history would have been written very differently. So who was more ruthless? Who had the sharper strategic mind? Who conquered more lands? Who left behind the greater legacy? And most importantly, if these two titans met in battle, who would emerge victorious? In this video, we will try to answer one of the most dangerous questions in history. Join us as we explore the rise, the darkness, and the terrifying power of Genghis Khan and Amir Timur. The story of Genghis Khan was not built on empires, but on poverty, betrayal, and the desperate struggle to survive. His real name was Temujin, and on the very day he was born, a rival tribe captured a child from his family. Darkness touched his life before he could even speak. When Temujin was only 9 years old, his father was poisoned. Until that day, the family belonged to a powerful clan. But once the leader died, every tribe turned their backs on them. His mother, his 5 brothers, and Temujin himself were abandoned in the harsh steppe, left to survive with no food, no protection, no allies. The man who would one day build the greatest empire in history was once a starving child catching fish just to stay alive. But those hardships awoke something inside him, a will of iron. As Temujin grew older, he began gathering followers. His strength was not only in the sword, but in his extraordinary ability to unite people. He negotiated with rival clan leaders, forgave some of his enemies, and slowly built a network of loyalty and respect. He knew one truth better than anyone. In these lands, the greatest power was unity. The most dramatic turning point came years later. Temujin summoned all Mongol tribes together, and in 1206, a great Kurultai, a council of nations, was held. As the sun rose, thousands of warriors knelt before him. At that moment, Temujin ceased to exist. A new legend was born, Genghis Khan, a title meaning the oceanic, universal ruler. From that day forward, he was no longer a mere tribal chief. He became a force that would reshape the winds of the East, a leader who brought order to the endless steppe. And soon, the world would tremble at the sound of his name. The story of Timur begins very differently. He did not inherit a vast empire. He had no legendary bloodline, no great army, no claim to a throne. His rise was built on patience, ambition, and a hunger born from hardship. When Timur was young, he was nobody, just another warrior among thousands. But a single arrow wound changed everything. The injury left him limping for the rest of his life, earning him the name Timur the Lame, Tamerlane, a name that Europe would one day fear. But this wound did not weaken him. If anything, it hardened him. Timur began gathering small bands of loyal fighters. He did not unite tribes with brute force like Genghis Khan did. Timur united people with strategy, diplomacy, and brilliant manipulation. He understood the game of power better than anyone of his time. And here lies the most fascinating truth. Timur was not a descendant of Genghis Khan. He had no legitimate right to claim the Mongol legacy. So what did he do? He appointed a puppet Khan from the lineage of Genghis to legitimize his rule, while he controlled the entire empire from the shadows. This was one of Timur's greatest feats of genius, to take power not by strength alone, but by law, politics, and perception. As his power grew, he transformed Samarkand into the beating heart of his empire, a city so magnificent that future travelers would call it the jewel of the world. And with every victory, a darker aura grew around his name. Timur did not wage war for conquest alone. He mastered the art of fear. A city that resisted him faced one of two choices: surrender or be remembered in history for a punishment so brutal that it would terrify generations. Timur never saw himself as an ordinary ruler. He believed he was Sahib Kiran, the conqueror born under a lucky star. From a limping warrior in the desert to a king who would one day challenge the greatest armies of his age. Timur's rise was nothing short of extraordinary. As a leader, Genghis Khan was cold-blooded yet practical. His ruthless side appeared mainly on the battlefield. However, his mercy and respect for people earned him loyalty. For Temujin, strength and unity went hand in hand. He was a leader who commanded both fear and trust. Timur, on the other hand, was very different. He was intelligent and tactical, yet on the battlefield, he appeared ruthless and merciless. He did not hesitate to force his enemies to submit through fear. Genghis Khan, loyal armies, the ability to forgive, and the unification of people. Timur, strategy, fear, tactical mastery, and strict military discipline. Genghis Khan ensured military and political unity. Genghis Khan united the Mongol tribes to create a vast empire. He brought smaller, independent clans under his control to form a unified army. In the political system, he implemented laws, yasa, and regulations to prevent conflicts between tribes and ensure loyalty. Limited direct influence on cultural development. Genghis Khan's priorities were primarily military conquest and political administration. He did not make significant investments in city building, architecture, or the arts. The cultural legacy of his empire was mainly in governance and military strategy. Timur created a vast empire. Timur conquered large territories in Central Asia, establishing a centralized empire. He captured cities and developed them, making Samarkand his central hub. Architecture and urban development. Timur paid great attention to architecture. In Samarkand, Herat, and other cities, he built magnificent mosques, palaces, and madrasas. These structures served as religious, cultural, and political centers, left a cultural legacy. Timur's impact went beyond military achievements. Through cultural projects and urban development, he left a lasting mark for future generations. During his reign, Islamic culture, art, and architecture flourished, and the aesthetic influence of his empire endured for a long time. From a historical perspective, both Genghis Khan and Timur built vast empires, but their paths and methods were completely different. If we measure cruelty and ruthlessness, Timur was the harsher and more fearsome leader. Yet in terms of strategic intelligence, governance, and long-term legacy, Genghis Khan was also unique, serving as the unifying force of the steppe. Both changed history, but one built his empire through fear, while the other relied on unity and trust. History shows that Genghis Khan was more systematic and balanced, whereas Timur was harsher, more fearsome, and left a lasting cultural impact. In building an empire, what do you think is the most important force? Fear and military strategy, or unity and trust? Which leader do you think was more ruthless, Genghis Khan or Timur? Which leader do you think was stronger or more effective in creating an empire? Personally, I would say Timur was the more ruthless leader, using fear as a key tool to control enemies, while Genghis Khan was stronger in terms of strategic governance and uniting diverse peoples under a single empire. Both were extraordinary, but in different ways. Timur excelled through fear and tactical brilliance, whereas Genghis Khan relied on loyalty, unity, and long-term stability. Track it, and if you want such videos to come, write it in the comments.